This episode is brought to you by Dime Media. Love supporting local, but looking to save? I've got the solution. Introducing the 2025 CNY Women's Network Members Card. This is your passport to exclusive year-round savings at over 35 amazing women-owned businesses across Central New York. Whether you're grabbing coffee, booking a spa day, or shopping a local boutique, using your members card means more than just discounts. You're empowering women, strengthening small businesses, and building a thriving community one purchase at a time. Want to see all the offers and partner spots? Head to cnywomensnetwork.com/members-card or click the link in our bio. And here's the best part. Join the Collective by CNY Women's Network and you'll get your members card free with your annual membership. More details at cnywomensnetwork.com/membership. Let's grow together, one card, one connection, one business at a time. Welcome back to Cultivate CNY. I am your host, Alex Canavan, and today I am so excited to welcome Angela Mosley to the show. Angela is the founder of Modern Fit Moms and a certified women's health coach and pre- and postnatal corrective exercise specialist. She has helped more than 1,900 moms worldwide heal diastasis recti, eliminate leaking, and reverse prolapse symptoms, all while rebuilding confidence in the workouts they love. Through her proven programs, Angela blends strength training, breathwork, and corrective exercise to restore core and pelvic floor function, eliminate symptoms, and empower women to feel strong, capable, and confident in their bodies again. In this episode, we explore Angela's journey, her passion for women's health, and how she's helping moms everywhere reclaim their strength and confidence. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Well, Angela Mosley, welcome to Cultivate CNY.
Thank you.
This is an absolute pleasure. I'm excited to get into all the things. I discovered you on Instagram, and we've been talking about how you've built this incredible brand, but I want to start off with strength training.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's so critical for women, especially moms, to strength train?
Well, for starters, we're not getting any younger. And this is what I'm 37. And so I didn't really dive into strength training until after my fourth kid. Like I would dabble into weights, but like more of like that high paced, high repped, kind of hit factor, I guess you could say. And so I didn't really realize the benefit of actual strength training until after my fourth kid when I was diagnosed with prolapse and leaking. And I was juggling carrying baby on my hip while also cooking dinner, or juggling baby on my hip while carrying in the groceries or dealing with another child. When I was younger, not younger, but when my girls were smaller and I was a single mom, I remember I had the baby on me. So they were 2 years apart. I had one baby in the front and one baby in the back. And that's weight, right? So that requires the body to be strong enough to hold up the weight. And so we're already lifting weights. We're already lifting our babies. So it really upsets me when moms are told, especially with a prolapse diagnosis, not to lift weights, because it's like, well, you're a mom, you're already lifting. And so if you think about all the things that we're doing throughout the entire day, we are lifting so much. And if we have dogs, we're lifting the dog up maybe into the car. We're helping our husbands move furniture. And in order to lift those things, we have to be strong, and we have to do that through training. As you get older, your bone loss or your bone density decreases, your muscle decreases. So it's just a part of aging that it's a lot harder to build muscle, especially as we age. And like I said, our bones start to decrease. So it's really important to master that with strength training. And so while cardio is great, what's really going to help with that longevity is going to be strength training through intentional functional training, especially to lead it over into everyday life. I know there's so many women that even just struggle with closing a window because they don't have the upper body strength to do things like that. So that's why for me, and I've just found a love for it, that just the boost in confidence, but then also, women want this lean body and they think that cardio is the answer to that. But to truly get a lean body, you have to lift weights. I mean, you don't have to. There's some Pilates that can go into play with it. I'm not knowledgeable on Pilates, but we have to add load against the muscle in order for it to get stronger.
Yeah. And you know what? Becoming a mother, taking care of children, especially as a single mother, is a big feat, And I didn't start strength training until like the last year, but before that, all I did was Pilates and yoga.
Yeah.
And I was, in great shape doing that. I had great endurance because I did hot yoga, but I never felt like I was getting anywhere in terms of muscle or toning.
Mhm.
And I too struggled to like lift certain things
Yeah.
where I was like, don't think I should be struggling with this. And of course, with all the amazing podcasts out there now and all the education we have around the importance of strength training for women, I, decided to do the right thing and get into weightlifting over the last year because I heard someone say if I could, a woman that was in her um experiencing menopause, she had
Mhm.
just finished perimenopause. She said if I could go back and change anything, I would have started weight training in my 20s.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that, especially if women come to me like for fat loss or anything like that. Yes, cardio burns fat in the moment, but when you have more muscle in the body, your body just becomes a fat burning machine.
Yeah.
So whether, somebody is seeking fat loss or they're seeking pelvic floor strength or they just want to get stronger and overall empowered to handle everyday life,
Mhm.
strength training is going to be that foundation that's going to get them to seek that. Now, Pilates and cardio, that should all be incorporated if that's a desire of yours, but for me and what I teach is all strength training based because of that reason. We're not getting any younger. I'm probably in that perimenopause stage, and so I'm like, okay, I got to focus and prioritize strength training to help combat some of those menopause symptoms that I'm going to be heading into.
Yeah, and I think, obviously cardio is necessary,
Yes.
but lately I've only been doing it once a week just to maintain my stamina.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, you are the founder of Modern Fit Moms and you are speaking to mothers.
Mhm.
Moms are busy. They don't
Right.
have a ton of time to be spending 45 minutes on the treadmill and then another 45 minutes here lifting weights. I mean, that's before you know it, 2 hours of your day are
Right.
totally gone. So I'm sure that you are probably a lot more focused on, making the best use of your clients' times or your members' time. And I think that that's definitely a better use is lifting weights than spending hours on a treadmill every week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what is your routine around working out? You are also a mother
Mhm.
and you are a business owner. But it sounds like you make time for all the things in your life that fill your cup. So walk us through, are you working out before the kids wake up?
Sometimes it depends. So I typically will work out at 7 a.m. At that point, my son is already up. He just turned 5, but I know that I have to be as much prepared for him to be up before he wakes up. So he has to have a smoothie every single morning, and mom has to make his smoothie. Nobody else can make his smoothie. So I make sure that I make his smoothie before I head into my workout. And so I might like listen to a book, a personal development book, or some training while I'm making his smoothie and doing some things in the morning time. But so, like I said, I get up at 4:40. I have time with God. Then I go straight into my work block from 5 to 7. At 7 o'clock, I really try to end the work block there because that's when my kids start to wake up. And then that's when I make sure that my kids are ready, whether, with his smoothie or he has his juice, his vitamins, whatever the case might be, ready so that he's not coming to interrupt my workout. He will interrupt it, but at least I have the bases down for him to not need that stuff. So then I go into my garage and he unfortunately watches TV. So in the school year, we don't do TV before school. It's been summertime, so he is watching it. But so I kind of give him that time and then I'll go and do my workout. Sometimes he will come outside and he'll hang out, he'll watch me, or he'll want to go out front and play in the driveway. So I'll do it between my reps and sets. To let him go out into the driveway. But for the most part, it's at 7 a.m. just because that's what I feel like works for me because I'm also teaching and recording classes. So if I don't do it earlier on in the day, it's probably not going to happen. At least I've learned that before, just because the day gets busy, the kids want to hang out with me. And so it's typically 7 a.m. And yes, the kids are typically awake.
I love that you're doing a work block from 5 to 7
Yeah.
a.m. I'm like in my head, I'm thinking I should do that. Why am I not doing that? Just because I think, we all have all the things going on. And I feel like all of my days are spent in meetings and just
Yeah.
talking, which is vital to the business. But I'm like, where is the time to get anything done? But come 4 p.m., my attention, my energy
Mhm.
just starts declining. So having that 5 to 7 a.m. work time is you probably get so much done.
I do. Yeah. And it's very strategic. Like I have a very specific task every single day that I'm doing in that work block. So it's pretty specific. And I have to because I'm pretty sure I might have ADHD or something. So like I get derailed and distracted.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I have to have something that I know that I'm doing or it's not going to get done. And I'll just scroll on social media. And I don't want to waste my time doing that.
Yeah. I hear that. Walk us through how you help the women in your audience. Are you doing one-on-one coaching? Are you doing group coaching? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I used to do one-to-one coaching, which was very rewarding both for myself and my clients. And I've met so many amazing women throughout the world. And it was really such a great experience for me to understand what women need as far as whether they're newly postpartum, they're perimenopause, or they're postmenopause. I worked with a lot of different women in different journeys, and it all came down to they all needed something very similar. Similar trainings, whether it was diastasis recti, leaking, or prolapse, it was kind of all the same. And so while working with women one to one, I've moved away from that because I am homeschooling and I just didn't find the time. So what I did is I created a 12-week program specific to meeting those needs. And so now I'm able to help more than just a couple women a month. I'm able to help, hundreds of women through my online program, and they're still able to get the same amazing results as if they were working with me one to one. Now, yes, of course, like one to one is going to give you better results overall, especially if they're not as dedicated, they're busy, they stop, and then they have to restart. But so I do that through my online programming for women so that they can do it at their own pace. They don't have to wait to show up at a call or show up at the gym at a specific time. They can just do it when it works for them. But primarily, my goal is to help women, not necessarily postpartum. I don't get a lot of postpartum clients, but they do come to me. But the women that never got the care postpartum that are now like, I'm leaking or I have prolapse. And so now they want to get back to lifting weights, but they just don't know how without the symptoms.
I mean, how long do these women struggle with those things until they come to you and get help?
It could be years. There are some women that have come to me that are in their 60s, and then there's some women that have had 5 kids and they're just in their early 30s. So it really depends on how big the pain is and how depressing it is, because it is an emotional, like, it's while it's not physically painful, it is very emotionally and mentally taxing on a woman's mental health. And so I think it depends on that woman and how long she wants to deal with it. But it really does range on how soon or how long. And then when they find me, they're like, oh, I'm so glad I found you. I've been looking for someone, even though there's so much on the internet that, but yeah, so it really depends.
Roughly how many women that become mothers struggle with these issues?
So up to 50% of women will have prolapse at the time of getting a check. So up to 100% of women will have diastasis recti at the time of birth if they have full term. So, and then I can't remember the statistic for leaking, but it's definitely, I think 70 to 80% of women will leak. And this isn't even a mother issue. Women and men can both have diastasis recti, prolapse, and leaking. Obviously, men, they can't have children. So women come to me that have never had children have these issues. And so it boils down to pressure management and how they're training and how their body is handling that. And are they strong enough to handle that? And so it really depends on the person and the lifestyle that they are living that will impact the results.
Do you find that women who strength train before getting pregnant or becoming mothers have less of a chance or struggle a little bit less with these issues?
Such a good question. And I wish I had the statistic on that. I want to say maybe it's about 50-50. I think, some women that are lifting extremely heavy during pregnancy, it's not a no. It's not that they shouldn't. It's just a matter of how you do it that matters. And so women that are doing it well and are managing pressure well while pregnant, they can reduce the risks of experiencing symptoms. But women that are not managing pressure well and are not paying attention to if they're bearing down on their pelvic floor or if their abdomen is protruding or creating a doming, essentially, like which I did when I was pregnant with my second child, will determine if they have worsening symptoms or not. But there's not, like, especially with diastasis recti, there's really no way to completely avoid it. But it's also genetic too. So women that have a tissue, so if you have someone in your family that has a hernia or series of hernias in your family, that's a tissue or a fascia barrier, genetic barrier. So you're more at risk for diastasis recti and prolapse and things like that. So it's also that as well, and lifestyle that can help determine if a woman is going to have more of a risk than someone who's not, if that makes sense. So it's really case by case.
So, what you are helping women with is not just learning how to lift weights and developing a healthier, lifestyle or fitness life, but you're also helping them lift these weights in a way and engage their muscles in a way that actually benefits them and supports their bodies.
Yes, exactly. Because a
Okay.
lot of women don't even know how to activate their glutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's a big barrier.
And a lot of people just when they hear pelvic health, pelvic floor, they just think of
They
Kegels
do.
too.
Yes.
And there's so much more to it.
Oh, so much more.
But forgive me, I might have silly questions because I am not a mother.
Yeah.
I've never been pregnant or given birth. So this stuff is fascinating to me and I'm
Yeah.
just learning about all of it. What is the issue with doming? Like I've heard of this before
Yeah.
and that being problematic. Why is it problematic?
So
How does it happen?
So you have a tissue, the linea alba, that lends up from your sternum all the way down to your pubic bone. And this tissue, fascia tissue, it's like almost like a rubber band, I guess you could
Is
say.
that when like people get a line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that essentially knits together your abdominals. And so when you have doming, it's pushing out through that tissue.
Okay.
And so that can make that tissue extremely weak. And that's what can create a diastasis recti. So there's all sorts of different kinds of diastasis recti. It's also based on the width versus the depth, but that doming out is creating pressure that a woman or a man is not able to manage. So if you have that doming out, whether through the midline or through the lower abdominals, that's a sign that your body's not managing pressure and it's going through your weakest link. So just like a balloon, for example, this is one thing that I always like to use. If you have a blown up balloon and you, or not, better yet, a water bottle. So like you have a water bottle and it's crushed up. What's one way that you can go in to get rid of the dents? Like how would you get rid of the dents out of the water bottle?
With air or with water?
Yes, you would have to go inside the water bottle, right?
Mhm.
And so that's
Okay.
how I like to think about our pressure system is that it needs to stay inside and it has to be spread evenly within the system. Otherwise, you're going to have kinks in the system, like doming out through the abdomen or lower belly pooching, which is going to affect the pelvic floor and put too much pressure and then weaken the pelvic floor over time.
How can you tell you have a weak pelvic floor without having ever been a mother? Like, cause um, I was curious about this with myself because I've had conversations with people before about this, but also because I've noticed, lower back pain
Hmm.
and I've always had an issue with engaging my core. Like I've always had to consciously engage it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just curious. I'm like, do I have a weak pelvic floor or will I have issues with this stuff or am I more prone to? Like, how can you tell that this is something? I mean, I'm sure all women should have this on their radar and
Yeah.
should make it a priority to support, do the training and get the support they need. But is there any way to tell that you have a weak pelvic floor without having these issues?
Without having like the leaking. Yeah. So yes and no. I think can be really hard to determine. So one of the signs that women don't think about when it comes to a pelvic floor is tampons falling out. If you feel like your tampon is falling out, then you probably are either A, bearing down or your pelvic floor muscles are not able to hold it in. If you're not able to have an orgasm, this could be because your pelvic floor muscles are not contracting when you should be having an orgasm. And so therefore you're not experiencing that pleasure that you normally would. And that could be a sign of pelvic floor weakness. A dragging sensation. So weakness doesn't always indicate prolapse and it doesn't always indicate leaking either. But like you said, like there are, like the tampon falling out or not being able to orgasm, feeling like a dragging sensation or just heaviness in general in the pelvic floor, specifically more so right before your period, because estrogen is the female hormone that helps with building, especially in the pelvic floor. And so a lot of women will get an increase in symptoms the week before. Weak pelvic floor can be associated with back pain, but not strictly because of the pelvic floor, but mostly because the whole system is weak. So if you have a weak core, you have weak glutes, you have a weak pelvic floor, then it can't provide stability to protect your back. And so although it's not a direct reason that you have back pain, it could be associated with back pain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd always just assumed that I just had a weak core or like just a loose core
Yeah.
because I don't know, I grew up dancing. So like I always heard from my dance teacher, engage your core, engage your core. That was always their biggest
Yeah.
note for me. So I've always just had this impression that I have a weak core, but I have noticed since strength training that my back pain has significantly reduced
That's
though. And I
amazing.
think it's not only because of my core, but I think my legs, my glutes have
Hmm.
increased strength and muscle mass there. So it's probably supporting me a little bit
Yeah,
more.
absolutely.
So why did you choose the name Modern Fit Moms? I'm
It's such a
curious
good
about
one.
this.
So I felt like, okay, in today's world, I want to be, not that I want to be cool, because I'm not cool according to my children, but
No one is.
no one is. I know, but I am I'm not a young mom, but like my oldest is 15.
Okay.
And so I had her when I was 21. And so I always like to think like modern, like up to date, right? So like when I think of modern, it's up to date, but it's not flashy. And so I guess that's kind of how I thought like I wanted to attract the moms that weren't like flashy and wanted like not that they didn't want aesthetic goals, because of course like when you train you're going to get those goals, but I want them to more focus on being empowered and strong. And so I guess I associated the word modern with that rather than like this like wanting like the biggest glutes ever or the rock
Mhm.
solid abs. And I felt like the name just kind of resonated with that. And obviously fit moms, because I want them to be fit moms. They're strong, they're empowered to do whatever they're capable of doing. And so that's kind of how I came about that name. And yeah, it was about at first, I called my business Uplifted Wellness. I don't even know why I called it that, but I wanted to really put moms into the name. And so that's why I went with Modern Fit Moms.
I think it's really smart, for many reasons, but I think it creates this. I mean, you're saying you are helping women with their fitness and with, whatever that looks like for them, but also I think it adds this kind of lifestyle signal to people. And in a way you're attracting not only mothers, but modern women who have or who are so dynamic, who are doing all the
Right.
things, right? And I'm not saying women that just focus on being mothers are not just as busy as any other woman, but I think that it's gives you an appeal to the next generation of
Yeah,
mothers, of course.
exactly.
So if moms are feeling overwhelmed and intimidated around their fitness, how does your community support them in taking that first step?
Yeah, so this was a good question that I was pondering on. So I don't have connection a whole lot with the women in my membership. One of my goals is I want to build more of a community for my members because I really want them to have that support. One of the biggest things that moms get worried about is, or the reason why my business might be different than others is because I provide workouts that they can just hit play and move along. And no matter where they start in the month with me, they can start where they need to start. And so I provide workouts where they literally are 35 minutes or less so that they don't feel like they need to spend a whole hour. I know that moms are busy. And so having that ability to just hit play is great because they don't have to think about it. They don't have to think about their workout. They could just literally follow along. Now, there are a lot of moms that won't do the full, like the monthly plan. Or like, okay, I'm really busy this week. So I'm going to pop into the library section and I'm just going to do a quick 20-minute workout. And so I do provide a variety of workouts so that wherever they are in the season of motherhood or season of life, there's 10-minute workouts, there's 20 minutes, there's 35, and there's up to 45 minutes. So they can decide how much time they want to spend. And I always tell them consistency is the best thing. So no matter where you're at, even just a couple workouts throughout the week is going to be the best. But, that is definitely something that I need to build upon more is building that community. Again, we do have like a Facebook group, but it's very quiet and I need to work on building it back up because,
Well, first you build the product, right? And
yeah,
and we hear this community buzzword being thrown around, and especially as brand builders, we're like, "Oh my gosh, the community, I have
yeah,
to build it." And, it really depends, I think, on what kind of business you want to build. You
right.
are reaching women across the whole country, probably the whole world,
Yeah,
I'm sure. And so community is tough. It's done through like events,
yeah,
right? And I've spent the last 2 years like analyzing and observing so many different
yeah,
communities, because that's what we do with CNY Women's Network. And I think that the reason why, like, I've seen so many communities done that are brands that are not. I mean, I think what people really are looking for is that in-person connection. That's what I've realized.
yeah.
And maybe I'm biased because I've built our audience off of live events. And we do host monthly virtual calls for our members, but those are very content focused and there's breakout
Mhm.
sessions, there's hot seat coaching going on in there. So those actually are very well attended. But we've hosted webinars in the past that featured other people, and I'm running our community calls now, and I had originally thought nobody wants to listen to me. What do I have to say? I'm not an
Oh,
expert. So let me just bring in the
yeah.
experts and they'll talk and people will come. But what I realized that our community really wanted was the connection, the
Mhm.
networking. And since we restructured these virtual calls, they've done a lot better. But it's because we focused more on a quick little like 20-minute
Mhm.
like mini masterclass and then really spent a majority of the time in our breakout sessions or hot seats. But I was gonna say we should definitely talk about maybe collaborating on a fit and social event.
Oh, that would be
So
fun.
we host these events called fit and socials. And originally, I wanted to host these events because I'm a lover of workout classes.
Mhm.
Exactly what you just explained. It's nice to just show up and be
Yeah.
told what to do for once.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
especially if you are a key decision maker in
Yeah.
your household,
Yes.
it's like, I need less
Yeah.
decisions. I just want to turn my brain off and move my body. So, I love workout classes. One of my favorite things to do on a Saturday here is like go to a workout class somewhere, try
Mhm.
something new maybe, and get coffee after. But wanted, I also know that there's so many ways to build community
Yeah.
other than, your traditional networking event or happy hour or business conference. And there's plenty of interesting people that go to these amazing studios around Central New
Yeah.
York. So I was like, let's host fitness pop ups. And it's just another way, I think, to not only bring women together in a way that's really empowering and fun, but it's also another way to highlight small businesses here. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I think doing a fit and social event really catered to mothers
Mhm.
and especially catered to pelvic health and these pelvic floor exercises could be really interesting,
Yeah.
especially for our audience.
Absolutely. Because we tend, as business owners, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like as business owners, we tend to put ourselves last
Yeah.
and we don't I made that mistake once. I was in the middle of a launch and I did not do my own workout. I was so focused on creating other people's workouts and I was burnt out. I hit a wall and my sales did not work as well because I could not show up.
Isn't it amazing how you think you are doing what you need to do to create more sales or to grow the business,
Hmm.
but you end up neglecting yourself and then not even being half as productive?
Yep.
I think that's fascinating
Yeah. It was a hard lesson to
because
learn.
it's like my mother always put herself last. And so
Hmm.
I had the perfect image of what happens
Yeah.
when women put everyone else first. And so I think I've done a good okay job at taking care of myself while
Hmm.
building this business, but I can't help but feel guilty when I am taking the time away to do the things that fill my cup. There's
Yeah.
still that guilt there,
Yeah. Absolutely. It
even though
is.
you are your cup is full. So
Yeah.
that's a whole other tangent we could probably go down.
Yes, we definitely could.
So what inspired you building this business? I mean, did you always when you were a little girl, did you always think you'd be a business owner or a brand builder or a
No.
content creator for that matter?
Not at all. I'm gonna shed lightly on this as best I can. So I used to be a Beachbody coach. So I don't know if you're familiar with Beachbody, but I
I've
was
heard of it, never done it.
yeah. So I was a Beachbody coach, and I was going through a very nasty divorce, and I was constantly told that I would never amount to anything. And I took that seriously. And so when I became a single mom, I went off the deep end and I started not off the deep end, but I worked for the YMCA. And then I met my now husband and we had our baby together and COVID happened. And I was sitting down journaling. I was pregnant with my son and I was just journaling. And I just felt like God was calling me to start a business. And I'm like, but how, why, what am I supposed to do? Again, this is before any of my certifications, any in-depth training in the pelvic floor or strength training. And so I just wanted to pursue it. So at that time, I talked to my boss and she basically steered me in a different direction. She was like, no, I don't think you would, it's not that she said, I don't think you would do good, but so I've just had a lot of negativity around starting my business, being told that I would never amount to anything, that I could never do it. And so after I had my son, I was working for the local school district, loved them, loved working for them. The pay was nice, but I hated what I did. And I was miserable. And I only worked 2 days a week, but I absolutely hated it. And so I asked my husband, he worked swing shift, and I just said, I'm tired. I'm trying to breastfeed, and like, I want to start a business. And so that's when I decided to start a business again before my certification. So I just started that little membership, and I never in a million years would have thought that it would be what it is today. And I always have it in the back of my head, I can't let my enemies win. And because I know that if I ever quit my business, they would have such satisfaction. But on the flip side, my business brings me so much joy because I get to help so many women. And so, like I was telling you earlier, that's why I've decided to go with low ticket, because the amount of women that reach out to me just for my free content and say, thank you so much for sharing this, fills up my cup more than my own workout. You know what I mean? And so I never had a dream of starting my own business, but I think that little piece of being a Beachbody coach, going through a nasty divorce, and then having that vision that one day, then COVID, being told that I should go in a different direction, I finally just took the courage and decided to start my own thing. And yeah, I never thought it would be what it is today.
Yeah, and here we are, right?
Yeah.
When do you remember, like, was there a defining moment where you could tell things were picking up and this was actually gonna work?
So funny that you asked that, because it was December of what year are we? 2025, December of 2023, I think it was. I wanted to give up. And I said, I'm done. Instagram is lost. I had 3,000 followers. I just launched my program that I had, and no one signed up. And so I was like, I'm not moving forward with this launch. I had 3,000 people sign up for my webinar. And I was like, where are the numbers? What happened? Where was the conversion? And so I was ready to give up. And then January, I had gone to the doctors for surgery or a surgery consult, and they told me I was no longer a candidate. And so I shared that on social media, and that's when it blew up. And then that spring, 2024, is when I had my first $30,000 launch on a low ticket offer. Didn't realize it. And so it was my 4-week pelvic floor basic program that I sold for, I think it was like $47. And we had the most amazing time in the community of the challenge that I ran. And so it was then that I really knew that all my hard work is paying off, and that there are low seasons and there are high seasons, but to never give up.
Yeah, and I think that in terms of like social media and things quote unquote blowing up, right? Us amassing, a following, all of a sudden a
Yeah.
video going viral. It usually happens when someone decides to just let go and just be honest
Hmm.
about their experience, about their story, what have you. Because as you know, people want to connect. They
Hmm.
want to feel connected to someone. And that usually happens through displaying some level of vulnerability, right? But you would have never showed up and made that video if you had
Right.
not had that experience that happened right after you thought you were going to give up.
Right.
And that isn't that incredible?
It is. It
And
really
sometimes
is.
I was thinking about this the other day because to be honest, I have had a rough few weeks here and I've even thought of giving up.
Mm.
And it's been 2 years since I started this. So
Yeah.
I think like the 2 to 3 year mark is really
Hmm.
when things you make or break, right?
Yeah.
So I've been in this era lately and I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, maybe something needs to happen for something to happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of getting it right all the time and doing everything perfectly and having a strategy for everything. And maybe my strategy is not good enough.
Yeah.
Maybe something just needs to happen for something to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love that story.
Yeah. Being a business owner is hard. And there are still days, and as I'm sure you can totally relate, that you want to give up because it is hard. It is the hardest thing. I swear, running a business is harder than single parenting 3 small children, in my opinion. But
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. You know what? That makes me feel better
Yes.
because I'm not a mom. And I've also been like, oh my gosh, like I can barely handle this as it
It's
is.
so
And I
hard.
have virtually no responsibilities other than the people on my payroll. But
Yeah.
like, I don't have children. I don't have, you know, so I'm like, how could I possibly manage this and then some? but
You would
women
figure
always
it out.
find a way.
You do.
Make your last adventure of the summer Camp Collective, happening September 11th through the 14th in the Adirondacks. This 3-night all-inclusive women's leadership retreat takes place at the historic Great Camp Sagamore on Racket Lake. You'll spend the weekend in transformative leadership and personal growth workshops, enjoy classic camp activities like sunrise paddles and fireside conversations, and build deep, lifelong connections, all in a peaceful lakeside setting that invites you to slow down and show up fully. There are only a few spots left for the full retreat, so if it's calling to you, now's the time to register. We also have a day retreat option available. If you want to learn more or register, you can visit cnywomensnetwork.com/events to sign up and save when you register with a friend. We've got a couple ticket bundles available. You are not going to want to miss this. This is our first retreat ever, and we're so excited. If you can't commit to the full weekend, that's all right. You can join us for Community Day on Friday, September 12th. This is a one-day experience for the CNY Women's Network with all of the workshops, lunch, and other activities we have planned. You can get your ticket at cnywomensnetwork.com/events. Camp Collective is being hosted by The Collective by CNY Women's Network, which is our official membership community. You do not have to be a member to join Camp Collective. However, you should know that The Collective is a membership community for women in Central New York, and you get access to exclusive events, early registration, and a supportive network of growth-minded women. If you want to learn more or become a member, you can head to cnywomensnetwork.com/membership, and hopefully I'll see you at Camp Collective. All right, back to the show. Let's talk about this launch, this
Yeah.
really amazing launch that you had. What was your strategy, philosophy behind that? How did you have such a successful launch?
It's a good question.
Because it really is like, I mean, it's all about what happens before the launch, right?
Yeah. So I don't think I really had a strategy at that time. Because like I said, in January is when I went. So Pinterest and Facebook, I already had the audience. January is when I posted that reel, and then that's when it blew up. And so I think I did do another webinar. So what I'll do is I'll invite people to attend this hour-long workshop, I guess you could say. And I can't remember what the title of it was, but something pelvic floor. And so I invited people, and I probably had 1,500 to 3,000 registered. And as you know, not everybody shows up. So I did the webinar, then I sent out the replay, and then I invited them to the challenge. And then I decided randomly, well, why not go on social media and just post about it on social media? I had no strategy whatsoever. And the money, like people just kept buying, just bing. I kept getting notification after notification. So and so bought this, so and so bought that. And it just turned into this big thing that I was like, is this really happening? Like, and I told my husband, like, how is this happening? Hindsight, like, I wish I could go back to that moment and realize, like, okay, we need to be strategic with the money that's coming in. And shame on me, I did not put away enough for taxes. And so I got hit at the end of the year, but I really did not have a strategy. So I did try to replicate it, and it did not go as well. I think the biggest thing for me is that it was my first time doing this challenge and my Instagram just blew up. That really made me have that sale or that big launch. But how I do a launch now is basically you have like a free product, not a free product, but something for them to test out and try to get them a quick win. So like leading up to my next launch that's coming up this fall, right now what I'm doing is they have 5 workouts that they can sample out, or 4 workouts. It's a 5-day workout plan that they get to sample out, and then I invite them to my wait list. So this time my freebie that they get is not live, so it's just pre-recorded stuff. And so I'm hoping to pull people onto my wait list and then sell them privately through email, and then I'll post on social media. But as far as like my posting on social media, I do at least 1 reel a day. I show up in my stories, but I have a very strategic plan for my stories when it's launch time. I've learned quite a bit about that.
Ooh, I want to hear that.
Yeah. So
That's fast because our launches are really events.
yeah.
Honestly, like announcement. We have an event coming up,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I love a good launch strategy. So Instagram stories are like, I feel like, I mean, they've been around for so
Yeah.
long, but I've just realized that that's one of our strongest tools, and it's stronger than a feed post.
It is because people, and I struggle the most with stories.
So
But
what's your strategy
so,
now?
okay. So day one, I have a post for every single day. And so like day one is I'll do like a video of me working out. And then I'll be like, is getting rid of or reversing prolapse symptoms a now or never a thing. And so then I'll have them like poll it a now or never. Most of the time they will not say never. And then I say, message me the word strength. And then that's when I invite them to the challenge. Or I'll say, like, message me the word strength to get the details on my current 4-week challenge. Then day two, I might pop into my stories and do a voice or headshot or like me talking to the stories, answering common FAQs. And so I'll pop in there, I'll answer questions, and then I make sure that the stories expire. So you want to make sure they expire before you post again, because then that'll like boost the algorithm. I don't really understand it, but it works. So
So you're
then
waiting like a whole 24 hours?
not a whole 24 hours. I let the first post expire in stories and then I'll post my next one. I post on Monday morning at 6 a.m. and then I'll post Tuesday at 7 a.m.
Okay.
so that the first story is gone.
Okay.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So then I post at 7 a.m. Same thing Wednesday. I let that one go. So then Wednesday might be like a written FAQs or something. I have it all written up. So then Thursday would be testimonials. So I'll share testimonials of women that have gone through the program. Then Friday will be like maybe answering more questions or like letting them know, hey, just so you know, the sale for this is closing. You're not going to be able to save this amount of money. But I do a different type of story every day to speak to a different type of audience because everybody learns differently and it
Yeah.
attracts them. But when you do like polls or send me the word blank if you want the discount for this, can really encourage engagement, and then Instagram
Yeah.
boosts your feed or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Like your posts will be shown to them if they're
yes,
sending you DMs and
exactly.
okay, that's fascinating. I think it's fascinating how you have to wait for it to expire. And so are you just posting one story a day?
So like the first day is one story. The second day, if I'm talking to it, I try to make it 15 seconds or less. So there will be multiple clips. And then if I'm doing testimonials, obviously there's going to be several different stories, but I post them all at the same time.
Mm,
So it's like boom, boom, boom.
yeah.
So there's really only 2 days out of the week where there's just one single story that it just circulates through. And I think at one time I had like 14,000 views on it. So
Wow.
yeah, because that's
Okay.
not normal for stories, I guess. I don't get that right now, obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And you have what, 120,000?
26,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like doing the math. I love to hear strategy. Where did you learn all this stuff?
I think I just played around with it because I hate stories. I need to show up in my stories and I don't, but I just created this strategy for myself
Yeah.
based off of
It
like,
gives you something to follow. And it just takes
exactly.
you know, the decision out of it, right?
Exactly. Because then I don't have to think, what should I post today? I know I need to post in my stories today. So it's just basically an outline of, okay, this day you post testimonials, this day you post FAQs, this day you hop in and you talk to them. So it definitely gives an outline of what to share. And so you're not like winging it.
Do you consider yourself like a numbers person? Do you like to look at
I
data?
hate numbers. And that's like my business coach right now is like, I need to know all the numbers. And I'm like, I hate numbers. So I was looking at like my conversion for my freebie landing page to people actually opting in. And I think it was like 29%. I'm not sure what the good number is. And so I'm like, oh, clearly I need to like change my So it's good to know numbers
Hmm.
because you know what to expect.
You know when something's wrong.
You know when something's wrong. You know when you need to change something. So I'm starting to, I just don't like it.
Yeah. And it really is just like one of those like you don't get to build a business and not look at the money. You know
Right.
what I mean? So it's like one of these things that we don't love to do, but we have to do. But the better we get at it, the better in business we will be.
Yeah.
I need to get better at the data too.
Yeah.
That's like
Maybe that can both be our goals for this year.
I know my goal. Yeah. I'm like starting with the money thing first. I'm like, first
Yeah.
we're going to learn how to make money, how to save, invest, and do all the things that
Yeah.
we need to do. But I also want to get more dialed in on the data and insights
Yeah.
around our channels. What is your big vision for Modern Fit Moms? How do you see this brand growing and unfolding over the next couple of years? It's happened pretty quickly if you think about it.
Yeah, I would say that it definitely has, especially when compared, not that I want to compare myself, but I have two other women that I hang out with, or not hang out with, but I talk to. And, I'm constantly like encouraging them, like, you just got to keep consistent. You have to stay consistent. It will take off. So for me, as far as modern fit moms, like I dream of having a community, building that community of thousands of women that get them to working out with prolapse, because that's the biggest thing, is that women are told to not lift weights with prolapse. The statistic of women to stop working out or doing their workouts they love or changing the workouts they love because of leaking, I think is like 50 to 70% of women stop. And so I would just like to build a community of women that had these issues, and now because of the workouts that I give them, they're able to do things they love again. And it's like even things like running. Like, I'm not a runner. I hate running. But women that go through my programs are able to run again. And like being able to give them back that joy of running, because they focused on strength training and strategic strength training, and just building a community of women that maybe didn't feel like they could do things and now they can, and just continuing to build that up and spread the word. And hopefully, one of my goals is to get involved with midwives and OBs and being that go-to person to help these moms postpartum to not be afraid to lift up dumbbells, to not be afraid to get back to working out because they're leaking or whatever the case might be. So as far as like big vision, I just want to continue to build awareness and continue to build my YouTube channel and reach even more women. Cause like you said earlier, like I literally am reaching women all over the world. And I've worked with women in London, and I've worked with women in California, and just the different ways or and how and over the world that I'm able to work with so many women and impact lives. I want to continue to do that.
That must be so fulfilling. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Absolutely. Be able to, I mean, I've never met you before and I get to change your life, it's so cool.
I love that. How do your strength training workouts differ from our typical or traditional ones?
Yeah, so my approach is different. So number one, like I said earlier, moms want the full follow along. They want to be able to go in, hit play. So like you said, like you love going into a group fitness class because they tell you what to do and you move right along with them. And so I did surveys, and the moms just want to be able to hit play. But as far as like my workouts go, it's not your traditional strength training workout. I mean, as I continue to educate myself and I continue to learn about my own body and other women's bodies, I continue to transform my workouts. So, like, for example, this month or for September, our focus is strength and power. And so, especially because we are getting older, I always incorporate some kind of impact training, because impact training is important for bone health as well. And so you think, 60 years old shouldn't be jumping, but it's like, no, we should train our bodies to be able to still jump when we're 60, because if we can jump and land on a single leg, then we're not as likely going to have a fall risk. You know what I mean? So I incorporate impact training, which is going to get that heart rate up, which can, I guess, essentially cover the cardio, right? I incorporate power. So we're not just lifting weights, we're including power in that weight training. I incorporate the main movement patterns, your squats, your lunges, your hinges, your hip thrusts, your chest press, things like that. So I make sure that we have the basis and then we add on. And then, of course, we have accessory work. We have core work that is specific to training your core and training the pelvic floor. So moms that have not gone through my specific program but went through my membership have seen or dropped leaking because of specific strength training. So it's very strategic in working the glutes. It's very strategic in, hip health and single leg balance and things like that. I always include mobility work as part of the warm up. And I think a lot of more trainers are doing that today than what they used to do, because I think it's just becoming, they're like, oh yeah,
It's
like if
trendy right now.
it's trendy, but it's also extremely important, because if your hips aren't mobile, you're not going to grow your glutes.
Yeah.
Your glutes are not going to work. And if your ankles aren't mobile, you're not going to be able to squat properly. And so that's why I incorporate a lot of like the corrective exercise and mobility work in the warm up, because I know that they're not going to do that stuff after. So I guess that's what would make mine different, is just because I've blended like this method of like impact, power, strength training, accessory work, and mobility to help really provide any mom with a level of variety or options, no matter where they are with their fitness level.
Are there any women that do something similar to what you do that you look up to, like as a mentor or role model? I know you mentioned having a business coach. I
Mhm.
love that you are, investing in that while also building a really successful business. Um, who has inspired you in this space?
There's a lot of women that have inspired me in this space. So a lot of women that I personally learned from. So Sarah Duvall is where I have my pre and postnatal corrective exercise certification from. She primarily focuses on the pelvic floor and some strength training here and there, but I love her. She's truly amazing. So if anybody wants to learn more about pelvic floor or how they can get certified, definitely her. Another woman is Katie St. Clair through Empowered Performance. So she's the one that has like the biomechanics course. So she really talks about like tension and creating tension in the body and how that's important for the body and strength training and how we need to get stronger. So she's another one that I really look up to in this space. She talks more to the general population rather than moms, but a lot of what she has taught me is what I provide in my workouts because our bodies are similar to men's, but they're not the same. And so the concepts and methods are similar, if that makes sense. Get Mom Strong is another one. She's an amazing woman in this space. I look up to her because she's so real and she's, someone that I strive to be because she is always talking about not so much like aesthetics goals because I've always struggled with my own self image, and again, it's going back to my divorce and how I saw myself. So seeing her stuff is really inspiring because it's like a reminder, especially as a mom of three girls, that it's not about the number on the scale. And I remember for a long time, like I was always concerned about I could care less what I weigh today. You know what I mean? Like I, as long as I can still do 5 pull-ups, I'm like that's all I care
That's
about.
that's pretty
Yeah.
badass.
And then finally, the most inspiring woman is Lindsay Baumgren. She is a mom of three and she is a Christian, but she's a YouTuber. So she doesn't have like a membership, but she does have workouts on YouTube. And I just look up to her. Everything about her is just so inspiring, so loving, so generous. And I just love her personality. And I'm like, I want to be someone like that, where when people talk to me, then we'd be like, you're just so generous with your time. And so, yeah, I know that's a lot.
Oh my gosh. Well, I loved that. I love how you knew right off the bat who
Yeah.
these women were, because I think, a lot of the for a lot of us, we are some of the first and the only people we know doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's crucial to have other women or other people in general that you can look up to, you can relate to, you can get inspired by,
Mhm.
and to just keep you like just on track. That's your North Star. Whether it is someone that's doing the same exact thing you're doing for your business, or just someone like the last person you mentioned that it's
Yeah.
simply just you want to emulate,
Yeah.
the same type of energy that she does. So it's kind of like your little board of directors in a way.
Yeah.
That's what they say. You got to find your board of directors, but I love the idea of not only having our board of directors in our life, like real people that we
Mhm.
can go to and,
Yeah.
share our problems with or get advice from, but also like aspirational people, people that don't even know we exist,
Yeah.
but people that we would love to emulate and be aligned with. So, I'm gonna wrap up this talk talking about business in Central New York. So you're building a brand that is loved all over the world. Your clients are all over the
Mhm.
world. So you're not necessarily really building something specifically for the people in Central New York, although I'm sure there's plenty of people
Mhm.
in this region that
Yeah.
could benefit from your services. Where's your favorite place to go when you want to indulge or invest in your wellness?
Ooh, that's a good question. With or without kids?
Both. That's a good one.
So I am never without children. So I think for me, I personally love the outdoors and I just love being outside. And I love taking hikes with the kids because they see frogs and snakes and bugs. And one of my favorite places that I love and they love to go is Gully Falls. We love checking out like different waterfalls and hikes where they can just splash in the water, but it's so peaceful, and just reminding of God's beautiful creation and what He created. And then just seeing my children play it fills my cup up and it gives me so much joy because they're so happy. When they're happy, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right right things. So although it's not individually specific for me, just being able to do that with my children, I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have my business, right? I'd have to work a full-time job outside the home and I wouldn't be able to have those moments with my children. And so those moments, those hikes are just so peaceful, and being able to experience nature. And, we need to be outside more, especially in central New York. So we try our best to get outside as much as we possibly can. But for me, it's like getting away from society and, just having that piece of nature and watching the kids play. I don't know if that's the question that you.
No, that's lovely. I love
Okay.
that. I actually been in this era of rediscovering Central New York. Fun fact, I used to be a makeup artist and I
Yeah.
specialize in bridal makeup. And this is actually the first summer in my entire adult life that I have not done wedding makeup.
Wow.
I retired. I
Congratulations.
officially hung up my makeup brushes this past New Year's Eve. So this is my first wedding season as a retired makeup artist.
Yeah.
And so I've finally had the chance to go to all the places that I would go for jobs, like the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
And because there's so many lovely places in upstate New York to get married. And so I've just been in this era of like discovering all the beautiful parts of upstate New York, central New York. And so I've been chasing waterfalls
Yeah.
myself this year. We do like a monthly hiking meetup for the CNY Women's Network. So I've gone to those hikes, but I've also, spent some time with my family and done some stuff on our own. And we've been going to like Chittenango
Yeah. That's a
Falls.
good one.
That's nice. There's Pratt's Falls, which I just discovered this year and I'm obsessed, and it's not too far away from home for me. So
No, where's Pratt? I feel like I've been there.
it's Manlius Pompey
Okay.
area,
We
and
definitely had to have.
it's lovely. I honestly was like, why don't people host events here? Because it's
Yeah.
not just the waterfall. There's a beautiful green area. There's a pavilion. There's little trails to walk on and a little pond. And I'm like, this would be a great place to host
Yeah.
like some sort of outdoor community event. But I love that. No, that was the perfect answer to my question. And what about food? I have to ask. I'm a foodie. So what's your favorite restaurant?
Ugh. I am not a foodie. I mean, I just want to eat. I just like to
You're
eat.
not picky.
No, I'm not picky, but I would say that our family personally loves, especially when my mother-in-law comes into town, we always do twin trees.
Yep.
And the wings have to be extra crispy according to my husband, and we have to get the anapasta. So
Yeah.
that would be our favorite.
They have my favorite garlic pizza.
Oh, I haven't tried
So
that
good.
one.
I don't know why. There's something about it. Maybe I'm just I don't know. But it's very, very good. Highly, highly recommend.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Angela, thank you so much for joining me.
My
This
pleasure.
was a pleasure. I'm serious. We're gonna have to collab.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. This was
Thanks.
good.
This was good.
Yeah.
Whether this is your first time tuning in or you've been listening since the beginning, I do not take it for granted. When I started this podcast, I honestly didn't know where it would go. I just knew that I wanted to have real conversations with people doing meaningful work right here in Central New York. 2 years in, this still feels like a dream, but I also know that we are just getting started. If you enjoy what we do here, please join the 32% of people who tune into the show regularly and follow us on this app. And here's my promise to you. I'll keep showing up with my whole heart. I'll keep inviting guests who inspire me and asking the questions that I know matter most to people like us. People building something right here in CNY. So thank you for being a part of this.